I'm Bambi Francisco with Vader News, and I'm speaking with Drew Curtis. He's the founder and CEO of FARC, which is an online news curator with a comedic slant. We're going to talk about the evolution of news. Drew, you've been around for about 11 years, at least. FARC has been around for a long time, and you've watched the news industry just turn on its head. What are a couple of the biggest changes you've seen happening in the last decade?
Well, the first one is I've seen the guys that were in charge of the online divisions, which existed in 1999, but were kind of an afterthought. And it would be like one guy with a computer, and they'd be in charge of digital, and they'd have no control over anything. And then fast forward, 10 years, and some of those guys are now the heads of the very large digital divisions, or in some cases, the entire legacy media company has been moved into the digital section by itself, and they're at the top. In particular, like my buddy at The Sun in England started out like that. What's funny is in between that transition, though, for about 4 or 5 years, there was a massive attempt for the legacy side of the industry to actually kill off the digital. Like, there was actually an argument internally, we should just get rid of this digital stuff. It's screwing everything up. But they survived, and it's all good now. The other thing I'm seeing, though, that's different is that there's sort of this understanding of like what draws people to websites. And it doesn't necessarily just have to be content per se. It can also be voting. It can also be the social aspect of it. And they're all different parts of the same piece of the puzzle. And I think that there's sort of this sort of dawning of an understanding that content isn't necessarily the only way to draw people in, and it's kind of a passive way. The more active way is get involved, come to our site, do some stuff here, and that also draws people in. And trying to integrate all that together is where everybody's at right now.
That's right. It's the community aspect, that engagement that people are, the media companies are now going after.
Well, the problem is that they have a hard time controlling those guys because a lot of them are just crazy. I mean, the news industry is having a hell of a time getting rid of the whack jobs because, just read your local newspaper's comment section on anything remotely controversial. There was a gay love murder in Lexington where they had to not only shut down the comments on that article, but every article on the site because everybody kept on going in and arguing about Jesus and guns and pit bulls and.
But they could do that on FARC though, because you allow those comments, right?
Yeah. Well, no, we actually delete those too.
Oh wow, okay,
yeah,
that's
right. That's what they need to do.
Talk a little bit about FARC. You're a bit like Dig because people can FARC articles. People can FARC articles on Vader News. And so you aggregate them, you curate them. But now there's this Facebook like button, which just appeared in the past several months. And this is quickly replacing Dig. So how is this changing the curation of news? How's this changing your business when everybody's liking content now?
Yeah, actually it's a huge opportunity for us because we actually do have a value add on the content part of things. Like, we're not just a link dump site where people are going to vote stuff up to the top. We actually do have a value add. Implicit in every tagline on FARC, which is different from the headline of the actual article, is a reason why you should go check it out.
Sure.
And usually it's funny, or sometimes it's like in the 5th paragraph this guy drops the F-bomb or whatever it is, and there's a value add in the content. So as a result, it's a tremendous opportunity for us because now we've got a way to spread our stuff out. It's been really difficult to actually attract inbound traffic to FARC because there's no place that you can land it. I mean, people can say, hey, check out FARC, but that's really all they can say about it because they can't say, oh, there's a great headline there today because in 24 hours it will have moved off the page and there's no way to target
You're going to try to get people to like your headlines.
Yes, exactly.
Which is great.
That's launching like in the next week or two. Maybe they may have done it while I was asleep last night. I'm not paying attention.
What does this mean for Dig, though?
So, I don't know, man. Well, it's obvious that they're trying to scramble around. I mean, they're trying to make a game-changing play with this Dig 4.0 thing that's coming out. It may be sheer genius. I don't know that there's a lot of wisdom in scrapping your existing site and replacing it with something else, though. I wouldn't do that. But, I mean, then again, I don't have $100 million in venture capital screaming at me all the time, and that probably impacts decision-making over there.
Now, what's great about curating news is that you can bring a lot of traffic to your site. But there's a challenge with curating news, and I spoke with the Aardvarker. They're now an ad network for sports. But they talked about how it was challenging being a curator of all these sports articles because people would just go off.
Right.
Which I imagine that you drive tons of traffic to other places, but what are the challenges of just curating news and having the audience lead, basically?
What Yardbarker said about the driving the traffic away is actually, it's a straw man argument, believe it or not. It's something they teach you in old media legacy school, that you're not supposed to drive people away from your site. And so if you repeat that, you sound like you know what you're talking about. In actuality, the internet doesn't work like that. If you send people off your site, they'll come back. They don't leave forever. It's not like, oh, I found this link on Yardbark and I went somewhere else and screw those guys. I'm never coming back. That's not how it works. They boomerang out and back. At least they do with us anyways. And so I would disagree that sending people away is a problem. It actually makes no difference whatsoever.
Zach, one last question. What about these content farms? Yahoo bought Associated Content for $100 million. AOL has Seed.com. Demand Media is around. They're all aggregating these freelance writers and creating these media powerhouses. How is that changing news?
The articles written about it, I think, are kind of missing the greater point. They don't examine why these things exist in the first place, and that's mainly because the more actual stuff and text you have on your site, the more likely you are to become an SEO vortex, attract the search engine attention. And there's a good and a bad about it. On the good side, I mean, that's great traffic and it works out. But on the bad side, because you're attracting traffic doesn't mean you're attracting an audience, if that makes any difference. And the problem is that what you need in the long term is an audience in order to actually get any kind of traction. What I see on the other side of that coin is I'm also seeing certain individual journalists are making a name for themselves online by being awesome.
Right.
And that also brings some value into play. I think maybe some kind of a hybrid model where you could have a few awesome people write all the time and then a bunch of SEO vortex crap on the other side. Probably be a nice hybrid. But it's easy for me to say, yeah, all you need to do to succeed is have the best people out there. Well, yeah, no shit.
Yeah, but you have to also have good SEO in this world.
Yeah, well, exactly. That's the thing, and that's why it's a good hybrid. So.
All right. Okay, Drew, but that's a good point. Traffic versus audience. We're not wrap it up there. So, Drew, it's always a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks.
I've been speaking with Drew Curtis of FARC. I'm Bambi Francisco.